Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking out my latest ATV video. I'd like to talk to you about probably the single most important accessory that someone could own, next to the GPS, the winch. Recently at Rainbow Falls, just outside of Woodland Park, Colorado, my friend Barry and I wanted to get a good hands-on experience with using winches on our quads. Well, at least I did. As I've heard, be careful what you ask for. We were fully prepared to get out of tough situations without the assistance of anyone. Needless to say, wow, we were pretty wiped out the next day. Very tiring, very taxing. I can honestly say make sure to adhere to the signage that's posted. If you're ill-equipped or not experienced, please don't try the trails marked closed, unless of course you have a snow machine. Otherwise you can end up like Barry here in 2 or 3 feet worth of snow and just not going anywhere. Although the 50-foot winch cables were sufficient, I would recommend bringing an extension cable and tree savers. Tree savers are these barriers you put between the actual winch cable and the tree. We live in a very beautiful area, and we kind of want to keep it that way. We both have synthetic cables, which are a little easier on the trees. However, you know, it's always good to try to protect the environment. As you can see here, ditches can turn into these black holes, these voids that can just suck the ATV right into them, as much as 2 or 3 feet deep. I can say without a doubt that it would be impossible to get yourself out of this situation if you didn't have a winch. Simple passable trails that are accessible during the summer can look very different in the winter, as you can see here. One thing that I did notice was that there are shadow sides and sunny sides to these trail systems. While the sunny sides are typically easy to go through and melt it off, with wind and the shade, they pretty much look like this all the way through. So if the sun's not on them all the time, these trails are going to have drifts, and then it gets this sheet of ice across the top of it that'll just suck you right down into that right side there. So as in previous videos, I've always said ride with a friend. And this is why. We were both pretty sweaty, pretty hot. Our average speed over the 45 miles that we drove that day was about 5 miles an hour. Top speed was 30. This is probably why our average speed was about 5 miles an hour. We spent about 2 hours getting through this stuff slowly but surely. One of the things that I can tell you is make sure that you have a good anchor on your winch, on your cable. Otherwise you can end up just pulling a tree out of the ground. What Barry's doing here is quite interesting because you can actually just kind of pull yourself forward a little bit, far enough, because I had the cable fully extended there. Didn't have it enough room to actually tie onto a big tree, which is what we're readjusting here. So yeah, make sure you're anchored good. It'll make all the difference. As you can see, at this point we're not even retracting our winches. We're just leaving them wrapped around or laying on top of the quads because we're getting stuck probably every 5 to 7 minutes depending on where we're at. And you just kind of dig in. But they just say it was a lot of fun. Realistically, you want to have a lot of water with you. I carry a Camelback, a couple extra bottles of water. Even in the snow, you can get severely dehydrated and it'll knock you down in a second. So there were quite a few trails like this, and while it was enjoyable and it was a learning experience, yeah, you want to think about your safety. Not everything was work. There was some play. I was able to get my Skydio drone out and have it follow me a little bit and see how it did. So I do have some trail riding here. Pretty deep snow. But yeah, you'll get to see how beautiful of a state we live in and why we like riding these trails. This is the first time I was actually using the Skydio 2 drone to follow me on my ATV. Um, Needless to say, I was hands down impressed with just the ability and the obstacle avoidance of this drone to keep up and to, get around the small and large things that it was presented. In this case, it was tree branches, and man, I'll tell you, it went in and out of trees like it was like they weren't even there. If you have the means, I can definitely say pick one up. I think my top speed was about 25 miles an hour, and it just stayed with me, and it made adjustments as necessary. Beautiful shot of the front range there. We live in a beautiful state. I really liked how it just kind of adjusted and did what it needed to do. I wanted to say thank you again for stopping by and reviewing the video. And we'll be seeing you next month. Be safe out there. Take care.